Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven, where we bring to you experts on how to grow your business, how to grow your sales. And today I am with a fellow marketeer, Darrell Evans, and we're going to talk about how to generate the business, accelerate your sales funnel, and ultimately make more revenue. Hey, everyone here on Growth Driven. I am with Darrell Evans. Now, Darrell and I'm going to tell you a little story. Met on LinkedIn, Lord knows, I don't know when, a year ago, 5 years ago. We're both in the Vegas area. I was looking for experts on marketing and business. He's in my first tier, reached out to him. He immediately responded. And so he said, Darrell, thank you for being on Growth Driven.
Edwin, I'm happy to be here. We are going to talk product growth, sales, all the stuff that I geek out on. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I geek out on this stuff too. So before, if you're listening, before we went live, Darrell and I were talking about all of our combat wounds of marketing with small businesses and how we, marketers like ourselves can actually exceed people's willingness to grow, meaning they hit a certain peak and then they don't want the marketing guy anymore because they're comfortable. And why pay for more money when I'm comfortable? So both of us recently have kind of come to the same conclusion, and I'm going to have Darrell speak to this, which is we're not looking for just local businesses with a small margin of growth success mindset. We want national level type organizations, consultation-based businesses that want to really use a CRM, nurture leads, take people through the buyer's journey. All of these things we're going to go into. If you don't know these words or don't know what we mean or how to connect the dots, I'm going to have Darrell connect the dots for you clearly today. So if you are looking to scale nationally, if you're looking to go, what the hell do I do with my CRM? How do I nurture leads? How do I outstrip my competition to do it better? Darrell's going to speak to all of that. So Darrell, when I went to your website, it was all about local marketing, but you told me that you've kind of gone in the different direction. Tell me why you went that direction and what's happening since.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. When we started our company, Yokel Local Internet Marketing, which is a digital marketing agency and HubSpot partner based here in Las Vegas, Nevada, we started.
You can look at the link below.
Yeah, thank you. We started working with small local businesses. Why was that? Well, number one, it goes to a couple of things. Number one, my business partner and I grew up in the local professional services space. Both of us had successful careers in multiple industries along that previous 18-year path prior to us getting to this time with our company, which now we're in our 10th year. But number two, it speaks to another thing that I think about when we talk about entrepreneurship, and that is entering a marketplace with a minimal viable product or a minimal viable service or a minimal viable offer. You can't be all things to all people when you're first starting a business. And it's a huge mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make when they're first getting started is they want to go broad, cast a wide net as to everybody who could buy their product or service. And I just believe in the opposite. I believe in start small, create one product, one service, go straight to the marketplace who needs it and become successful there, then expand. So our story was we started with local businesses, primarily professional services companies, both home professional services, think AC, think landscaping, think pest control, think those kinds of companies. Mm-hmm. And then think professional services on the educated side of things, engineers, lawyers, doctors, accountants, LASIK eye surgeons, cosmetic surgeons, think that on both sides. We never touched a restaurant. We never touched a gym. We never touched some of those companies in the early days because we wanted to serve those professional service companies who were in the fight serving their customers every single day. And we knew that they didn't have the manpower, the capacity, the skill, or the strategy to take care of acquisition online. So
Yep.
the thing was, if they raised their hand and said, hey, we need to get our online presence together, start generating business online, great. But we know that they're performing their craft throughout the majority of the day. So that means they're not going to be able to figure out Facebook. They're not going to be able to figure out the first page of Google. They're not going to be able to figure out email. They're not going to be able to figure out, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc.
None of it.
That's where we come in.
Right.
But what happened? About 2 years in, we realized that a lot of the small companies we were working with, and we love them, we still work with them to this day, but we found though is that their willingness to grow through the processes, the systems of going from being a couple $100,000 a year company to a $500,000 a year company to $1 million company to a $2 million company. And I can't tell you how many of those case studies we have. It sounds good on paper, and the entrepreneur is dreaming of it every night. They're seeing
Right.
all their friends in Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups talk about starting a business and scaling to 6 figures. Like that's the holy grail.
Right.
But then they say, I want to go to 7 figures. So that's a different conversation. And then going from 7 to multiple 7, your business changes, your operations change, you as an entrepreneur have to change. And I'm super passionate about this stuff. But what we found was when we would take a company from a couple 100,000 in revenue to 5 to $1 million, we started bumping up against a lot of operational challenges and desire challenges. 2 challenges. A, can they keep fulfilling as well as they did when they were smaller? And number 2, did they even have the passion and willingness to get the right coaching, mentorship, and guidance to change their company at the million level to go to 2, 3, 5? And what we found in those first 2.5 years from 2010 into 2013-ish was that we just didn't, I could say 9.5, maybe 9.7 out of 10 of our companies, the entrepreneur just wasn't willing to go through it. And so it didn't matter how good we were. We were getting fired sometimes for no other reason other than we were successful. We were successfully helping them grow too fast. And so we had to pivot. 2013 began that mental shift for us. And again, we love our small businesses. We still work with restaurants and all those types of companies and all the ones I previously mentioned. But we are looking today at companies that can look to go from that 1 million to the 3 million, 5 million. One of our best examples, actually, we've got several, but one of our, if you're a local business though, and you think like this guy who came along in 2012 and he recently exited, right? So we took him at 4.5 million. He built everything on the ground up, but up from 0 to 4.5 million the previous 10 years. And he got to us and we got him to 22 over the next 5 and 6. And he exited he exited about 1.5 years ago. And, for a decent sum. That was a huge situation. And here's what he did. He hired us and went to do what he does best. We took care of all the strategy. We brought all the skill, all the talent, all the execution, and drove the ROI. He just got to do his craft all day. And at one point, he was interviewed, in fact, by his industry magazine. And it was hilarious because he told them that we were growing his business via social media. We didn't post on social media probably 5 times the entire time. That's how much he trusted us. He didn't even know what we were doing. All he knew was sales kept coming in, leads kept coming in. And he literally told the magazine that these guys are phenomenal at social media. His industry wasn't conducive to social media.
That's so
That's
funny.
a funny story about it.
I mean, what I really like about that story, like you said, he just trusted you. He saw the results. He thought it was A, but you were doing B, C, and D. And, who cares what the client thinks as long as he's getting the revenue, right?
And as long as we're not breaking laws and doing black hat stuff and, because there's a lot of, that's the problem with marketing today, right? Some people can drive results doing the wrong thing, right? But he wouldn't have been offered a buyout if we had grown him with the wrong stuff, right? So you got to do the right stuff. So, but most of our best clients, they don't want to be tangled up with all this stuff. It's different than growing your business with referrals or networking or word of mouth. All of that is valuable, and don't get it twisted. Just because we're internet marketers and we do everything digitally, we still know that your highest ROI comes from word of mouth and referrals. Yep. The problem is it's not scalable.
I say, I swear to God, Darrell, it's like I'm talking to a mirror right now.
I know.
Because you and I have come to the exact same conclusions, my pivot, kind of like yours, is, when COVID hit, a lot of things changed with local marketing, partnerships, et cetera. And I thought, as I said earlier, I had my Jerry Maguire moment. I'm going to become a virtual chief marketing officer to find the companies that want to go to the 5 and 10 million,
Right.
that really want that leadership, the mentorship, and aren't going to tell you to stop marketing. So when you made that pivot in 2013, way before I did, how did you move into that direction? How did you start to go after those people? How did you tell your story?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll tell you that the pivot was not just us pivoting for the type of customer. We love local businesses, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the pivot came to the value proposition that we were missing in the relationship with the client. So if you think about an SEO company or a local SEO company, all we were doing were driving traffic to the website. Sure, you could say ranking on the first page is a great skill, and it is. We had a great gentleman who was with us, our head of operations and SEO at the time, did a phenomenal job. But we were only in charge of the traffic, and we weren't in control of Google and or their algorithm changes. And for those that are not familiar, Google can make and even tells you sometimes they make up to 500 algorithm changes per year, because their number one goal is to provide the searcher, the person who's typing in a search, the most relevant results. And you can do all the best things in SEO to be the relevant result and still not be the person that's at the top of the search engine. The reality is we didn't control the outcome of Google, and we found two things. Number one, we were only driving traffic. We were not at that time in control of the conversion rate optimization on the page. We weren't in charge of how they were capturing the lead. We weren't in charge of the follow-up and the follow-through. When you look at studies like from HubSpot, and I think this dates back several years, I don't think it's changed, that 96% of people that visit your website are not ready to buy today.
Yep.
And the reality is most businesses just want the current I want to buy now buyer. That's a terrible game to play. And it goes back to a book called the Blue Ocean Strategy, which I read a decade and a half ago. And if your listeners have not read that book, you will understand why just chasing the now today buyer is a failing strategy. It's called what they would call the red ocean, right? So you got to have a blue ocean strategy. So we needed a blue ocean system and a blue ocean offering. So what we decided to do was look at where else in the sales process and the marketing process can we assist this technical expert, right? Professional expert at making sure they get their biggest complaint, which is a higher return on investment. Like none of our businesses really care about SEO and PPC and conversion rate. They don't care. They don't even know what the phrases mean. They get caught up with the buzzwords because they spend time watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. They just want to do more work on their patients. They want to solve more law cases. They want to do more landscaping. That's what they're in business for. So we just said, hey, where else in the process are we able to add value? So we said, hey, we're not doing anything to capture leads. We're not creating content at the top of the funnel. We're not actually doing email nurturing at this time. So then we said, okay, let's figure out how we can add these valuable offerings to the client so that they can still just do what they do best. But now, and I forget the study, Edwin, I apologize, but there's a study that says it's a consumer behavior study. And it says that 50%, especially if you're in the professional services world, 50% of the people that come to your website and leave will still likely buy that product or service within the next 30 days to 18 months. And I know on the surface that sounds very ambiguous, 30 days to 18 months. But let's just put this into perspective. When we run ads for example, a law firm, and the cost per click could be $50 to $100 if you're, for example, in the personal injury space, criminal defense space, some of those very high ticket legal spaces. And you just sent 100 visitors. Now, I'm not going to do the math here because I don't want to come up with the wrong calculation, but your audience can do the math.
Yeah.
$100, it's not a big deal. $50, $100 a click, no problem. We've got some that are 150, 200, even in the IT space. Your IT provider, the person who handles your cloud reporting, your cloud services, your server, those clicks, those IT clicks are $100, $200 a click. These are ordinary businesses. My point is, calculate the math on the amount of dollars someone would have to spend to get that traffic to the website. But then when you look at those businesses, there isn't a return path to you look at that study and it says 50% of those people actually were going to buy. They just may not be ready to buy today. So we just said, hey, let's lean into those 3 or 4 pieces. So we said, okay, hey, we understand the buyer persona of who's searching these keywords. Number 2, we know how to drive the traffic. Let's add steps 3, 4, and 5 to the mix. Step 3 is let's work on lead capture if they're not ready to buy. Step 2, or step the second thing we put into place was how do we then nurture those people? How do we build a relationship on behalf of the brand? And how do we create email sequences, right? We have several different types of email sequences based on the type of business. But let's say that study was true. Let's take it at its word. That means we as a marketing company should be able to then convert more people, more leads, if we come up with a systematic follow-up sequence. And then C, and third in that sequence, was then let's increase the lifetime value of the actual client base they have. And one of the most underutilized, and then when it is being utilized, misutilized marketing strategies is this topic called retargeting. And they're sitting on a past database. I remember one of our LASIK eye providers, he'd done 53,000 surgeries by the time we met him. Wow. 53,000. He's an OG. Like he's an OG in the game, right? And he was on the latest technology. He was about it. He was great reviews everywhere. But imagine how many surgeries he's done and how many email addresses he had. And he's just steadily doing cold market traffic. So when he came to us, he says, hey, I need more traffic to my website. I need to be ranked better on Google, blah, typical requests. We were like, wait a minute. You're in a local market. You do this one thing called LASIK. That isn't a very random search for somebody online, but you have 2,000 people already coming to your website. Why you want us to send more if you're not converting the ones that are coming? We turned his funnel upside down and we didn't even rebuild his website. All we did was put steps 2, 3, and 4 into place that I just mentioned a moment ago. And I'm sorry, it would be 3, 4, and 5 because step 1 is buyer persona. Step 2 is the traffic source. Step 3 is the leads for lead generation or conversion. And then step 5 is ROI enhancement. We simply spent 90 days optimizing the traffic and putting an optimization process in for the traffic that was coming. We took his website from 30 leads a month, which wasn't bad. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
A local business selling a $4,000 service to 90 leads inside of 90 days.
Wow. So
and it went on. Yeah.
Yeah. So number 1, you tripled the amount of leads.
Inside of 90 days. Yep. Inside
of 90 days. Then you took his past database as well as the new traffic and then began the nurturing, the relationship building cycle through emails and retargeting.
Correct. And then the retargeting happened through Facebook, which he never did any Google ads with us, which that would have been a likely choice, but he just wasn't for it, right? He just wasn't for it. So what we did was we said, okay, you've got all of these customers that are past. What we know about them is they bought LASIK or they came in for a consultation for LASIK. That makes them uniquely qualified as either a prospect or a customer. The person either has glasses and they don't want to wear them anymore, or they have some other type of eye condition and LASIK could be a solution. So we use Facebook advertising using the power of retargeting, and we were able to start taking perfect strangers, which is one of our things we talk about is, we work on how do we turn a stranger into a customer. Right. And we did that very successfully for, I think we were turning strangers into customers for about $80 to $100.
Beautiful. And for a $4,000 service. So the ROI.
For a $4,000 service. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was out of control.
Yeah. So there's a couple things you said. I'm going to go in a couple little different directions here.
Sure. I'm getting excited. I told you.
Yeah. I said anybody who's listening to this right now or will be listening, because this will be on YouTube. The audio portion will be turned into a podcast. So people will find this days, weeks, months, years from now. Is I want you to really take to heart what Darrell's saying is that the majority of people that are coming to your beautiful website are not converting. They're not going to buy right now. And if you've got that hunter mentality and you want to eat right now, the kill, but you don't want to do any ranching or farming to build that, nice field and that orchard and that, you're not going to have food during the winter. It's going to be really hard to go hunt bison when it's 40 below. and you really wish you had put some peaches and marmalade and some pork salt, in the
I
cupboard,
love the
right?
analogy. I love the analogy. I love
Right?
it.
Yeah, I'm an outdoors guy, so I like these analogies.
I love it. I'm a
And
sports guy, so I get it on both ways. Yeah.
and then it's always feast and famine for these small businesses, and they don't have a database to lean on, or they start to lean on it. They don't get the immediate results because they don't realize that there's a cycle to nurturing.
Mhm.
So take to heart what Darrell said. Darrell, you brought up another point, which is the buying time. When somebody goes to a website, that gestation period could be a month to 18 months, particularly in things like mortgages,
Yeah.
real estate,
Yes.
large purchases.
Yes.
And I remember I was speaking in St. Louis to a group of about 80 realtors. I was invited to fly out there to talk about marketing. Not one of them was using an email database to follow up on their leads. They'd buy Zillow leads. They call the guy and they go, "So you ready to buy?" And the guy's like, "No." And a majority are no. They're like, "Okay." And they would just keep buying Zillow leads.
Yep.
And I go, "Well, what about the Zillow leads you bought last month? What are you doing with those?" "Well, I might call them, but they weren't ready to buy."
Yeah.
And it's that mentality of I've got to make a commission now. And then they make the commission. It's almost like they've got the injection of the heroin. They get the buzz,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then they hustle again versus actually building the funnel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's a common problem, and it's funny. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I spent 17 years in the real estate and lending industry, which is the industry I left coming into this space.
okay.
So I know that analogy as well as anybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in truth, whether it's that industry, I'm going to speak to just something here for 30 seconds to a minute here on what you just said. My first entry into this concept came to me in 2002 when I, at that time, was a young mortgage originator generating 12 to 15 loan applications per month, which are leads. Those are people that have interested. They've given me their credit, FICO score, or their social security number to run their FICO so they can buy a house. The question, though, is I don't know when they're going to buy the house. They don't even know. They're just trying to figure out what the steps are. That's when I first put together my first 52-part email sequence. Now, I don't want your audience to get scared. The service I used was Get Response. It's still out there today. I don't use it today, but I bought a system, an email service provider called Get Response, and I put together 52 emails so that I could talk to that person once a week until they were ready.
Yep.
And that's what, and Darrell, 52, was it necessary? Maybe, maybe not, but it worked because I scaled that business so fast. I ended up going on to own my own mortgage company. And those are the little small things. I did something once, put it on set it and forget it. And every email was not, "Hey, come get a new loan. Hey, come get a new loan. Hey, come get a new loan." I taught something that was critical about the process over 52 weeks. And all that would do was give me plenty of time to stay in front of them in case they wandered into their local bank or in case their friend, the real estate lending industry, everybody knows someone in the business, right? So I wanted to insulate myself against the money I'd spent to get them to my door the first time. And it goes to a concept I talk about called, today I call it extending the life of the click when it's online. So if we use something like Facebook or Google ad, a Facebook ad, a YouTube video, wherever someone clicked on a link to find us, we paid. And here's another little thing. Whether you did free content, quote unquote, free content to rank on YouTube, or you blogged on your blog, you put time into it, so it costs you money. Don't get it twisted. Some people think, well, I'm not doing paid ads, so when I do SEO or social media organically, it's free. No, it isn't, because your time is worth something. So you're paying to get the click one way or the other. So I just believe, what are we doing to extend the life of the click? And I think that's where properly done websites, properly built nurturing sequences, properly built offers are critical to catching that other 96%. But that's where nurturing comes in. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with eating today. I want to eat today. Everybody wants to eat today. We get those leads that are ready to convert today. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But why are we going to leave the extra 4, 8, 12, 20 of those customers who represent high ticket? And you look at real estate, the average at the time when I was in the industry, the average realtor was probably earning, $4 to $5,000, $6,000 a transaction. Why on earth would you let another 20 something, $30,000 just walk out the door? Makes no sense. Why would we do that for a LASIK provider who gets $4,000 of surgery, an accountant who gets $600 to $1,000 on a tax return for businesses? A lawyer who can make $150,000 on a case. Who cares if it was $175 a click? They make $150,000 average case, at least in the market we were in.
That's right. And
That's
Darrell,
how you got to think.
and it's not just that one sale. The reason why you want to keep them in the database is, let's say their LASIK is done, their books are done, whatever the thing is that you did. If that person bought a house, the likelihood that they're going to buy another house in 7 years, like, keep them at the top funnel. Their kids may buy a home.
Absolutely.
They may want to buy an investment property. They may have a friend that's leaving California because it's falling apart going, do you know somebody? I literally, Darrell, I referred a friend. Someone from California called me saying, I have one of my clients moving to Vegas. Do you know of a realtor? Yeah, the one that's emailing me all the time.
Right.
That one. Yes, that one. I referred, the guy bought a $1.3 million home. She's making a 60 grand commission.
Right.
Now, I'm not buying a home today, but she was smart enough to go, Edwin may buy one day, and he may know somebody. And just by putting me in, she's earning a 60 grand commission because she follows the nurturing system.
Absolutely.
You now are moving in a different direction. Not that you don't love your local guys, but you're kind of going after these national guys. Tell me what's different in a national guy. What excites you about it? And take me through that robust system that you build for them.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. The difference is all initially up here. It's all in the strategic planning of where that company is going. And there's two types of people we work with in the larger companies. And when we say larger, while we have had some opportunities to work with some names that you guys would recognize listening to this right now, we went through that window and that phase about 2 or 3 years between 2012 and 2014, working with some big names. They'll stay nameless here because of NDAs and stuff. But that you very recognize television companies. These guys advertise on television. So, but what we also found doing that was we were more like project managers and more or less like we were hired just to do the stuff. We weren't allowed to do strategy. So what we'd like to go is upper small to mid-market companies that are small that don't have 4 things. They typically lack 4 things. They lack a clear strategy across all the digital channels. They don't know how to connect them all. They're doing isolated, siloed work, but they don't really have a consistent understanding of how their buyer is going to use those channels. So they lack the strategy. We bring the strategy. Number 2, they don't know the exact tactical execution points. I mean, a lot of them have downloaded courses or they've hired young marketers, and there's nothing wrong with young marketers, but unfortunately, young marketers, it's like the NFL. I'm going to use an analogy. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a big NFL fan. Typically in the NFL, rookies don't have great first and second years if they're thrown into the starting lineup year 1.
Right.
That is not typically the case. You'll find an anomaly here and there, but you will generally not see a rookie go from college, even a Heisman Trophy winner, go right into the starting lineup and have success. The reason is while they're good at football at the college level, there's a different level at the professional level, and they need an incubation period, a training period, a nurturing period for them to get used to the speed of the game. So younger marketers we tend to find younger marketers have touched these companies. And I don't mean that negatively because we hire young marketers and teach them the right way to do things.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, reading something in theory, getting a certification doesn't get it there. But the company itself has generally now growth goals that are, they're looking at growing now 10, 15, 20% a year for another sustained period of time. Mm-hmm. They've built an infrastructure to produce what it is they produce that can sustain that. And generally speaking, they have already either done one of a couple of things. They've either put a marketer in place, meaning like a director of marketing, marketing manager of some sort. They've got a focus now on marketing digitally, and they have begun at least thinking about the opportunities that would help them scale. So it's all really a mindset shift that has happened with the company, with the entrepreneur, with the leadership. And in many cases, we have a great marketer who's running the marketing for that company. And the real reason we get brought in is because of not because he or she doesn't have the right strategy, is because they lack the other two things we bring to the table: the talent and the skill and the time. So it's three things: talent, skill, and time. That person may be a good, sharp marketer, but there's no one marketer who can do everything it takes to scale digitally. You can't be a great copywriter and a great blogger and a great copywriter and a great creative designer.
We're right.
Right?
So
You just can't do it.
yeah. So now they've got a marketing person because they're starting to get serious. They've got infrastructure for delivery and fulfillment. They've got leadership that's kind of savvy or really savvy, but they bring you in because it's kind of like, okay, now we're really going to take all the different factors like copywriting, design, memes, CRMs, content distribution, social media automation. We want the whole kit and caboodle, leads, nurture, buyer's journey, and we want a seamless professional experience across all touch points.
Right.
Okay.
And they really just want to grow. And that's just how we can come in and help. And a lot of times, as you know, in your work, as a virtual CMO, sometimes we're working with you. I mean, a lot of times it's you that's bringing us in, right? A lot of times it's you who goes and partners with the entrepreneurial firm. Yep. I can't tell you how many times that's been the case. And whether you're on contract or on salary, we're coming in because you now have sold the owner on the fact that because the owner has been resistant, and then they bring you in. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. They've been resisting it. Then they bring a guy like you in and they think, oh, Edwin's here. I can go off and play golf and he's going to grow the whole thing. Well, you're like, I'm just Edwin. I have a couple of core competencies, right? We all have great core competencies, what I call superpowers in the digital space. If you don't have a superpower in the digital space, you shouldn't be in the digital space, but you just don't have all of them. And so we bring in what's called a T-shaped marketer team, where I pay all the salaries, I pay all the benefits, I pay all the stuff for the copywriter, the email. I got it all covered. I pay all the work. Me and you partner up, and we oftentimes bring it in at 1/3, 1/4 the cost of what you would do is if you hired it all in house. So that's the beauty, is they usually have someone like you on board, whether a contract or on salary, who's there where you're the bridge between us and the entrepreneurial firm. The entrepreneur, and I'm not saying anything negative about it, but that's not their gift. It's just not their gift. And they bring you on, and then we partner with people like you, and then we report directly to you, and then you're then able to give the warm and fuzzy of how things are going without the owner feeling like, and again, it's because the industry has done what it's done. There's a lot of marketing fakers out there. There's a lot of people out there that are unqualified. A lot of people out there that take people's money and pretend to do what they're doing. And it gives marketers a bad name, every industry has some of that. But we love when there's someone like you in place, because you know what the real numbers should be, right?
Yep.
And the owner doesn't really know. So
yeah, he doesn't know. And the reason why I'm brought on is what you said is they want to have order brought in and someone do the vetting process to weed out the bad marketers.
That's right.
Because I run into that 99% of the time. Oh, I paid this guy to do that. This didn't happen. I bought SEO. Nothing happened. So right. I go, okay, let's weed out the chaff from the wheat. And number two is accountability. He is so into operations that he can go 2 weeks and not talk about marketing, whereas I'm having the meetings. And football analogy, we're getting the yards.
That's right.
We're not just you can't get the first down every time, but we can run it up the middle and get 2 yards and be a better position on third down. And he's not there to get those yards.
And I love the way you just brought that up, right? Because a lot of the problems with small businesses, middle-sized businesses, or the entrepreneurial firm that is coming to digital for the first time, or coming to digital with our approach. And our approach is vastly different, meaning we can say the same words. We can say the same words as everybody else. However, the way we approach it oftentimes catches people off guard. And that is, we become I'm trying to think of the right word. We become obsessed with the ideal customer's buyer's journey of that company, which means we'll spend 20 to 30 days just discussing the pain points, the buyer persona work. My business partner, by the way, has written a book called the World's Best Buyer Persona System. So we that's what we specialize in. So we're not just interested in the demographics of who this person is. We're interested in how they think, the psychographics, what bothers them, what's keeping them up at 11 o'clock at night, where are they on Maslow's hierarchy of needs as it relates to your product or service. And a lot of people say, why are we wasting time with all this stuff? I just had a call with a guy last Tuesday, and he says, hey, I got your material, because other companies don't know this, but as an agency, we come in and do all the work that we've been talking about. But we have two other ways we help companies, and that is A, strategically, where we do strategic planning sessions on a contract basis or project basis. And then number two, we teach companies exactly what we do in our private coaching program or a private training program we go live once a month in. Having said that, we gave this one company access to our private training, and he got to module 1, which is this area of buyer persona. And he's been in the business 20 years. He's an expert at what he does. And he gets to the buyer persona module, and he sends me a message and he says, hey, I've been doing this a long time. Can I skip to module 2? And I said, no. And here's the reason why. A lot of people want to skip the work that's required on the buyer persona side. And here's where it's a mistake. A lot of people will say that they know who their ideal client is, except if they've been working with that client offline, by referral, by word of mouth, what you don't realize is the person who made the referral or the person who made the word of mouth recommendation was already, let me say it this way, that person had already experienced the outcome of their desire and then referred that outcome and experience to a third party. Therefore, the relationship of those two people brought a significant amount of trust back to your business without you doing any work. And you've earned that, which is great. Here's the problem online. When you are ranking on the first page of Google, whether it's for a Google ad, a pay-per-click ad, or whether it's organic search, you are blue letters and black letters, just like everybody else. No one knows how good you are, right? You're nothing to this person who was up at 11 o'clock at night, who had some sort of pain. Let's just say, let's go back to LASIK example. Is LASIK affordable? Is LASIK safe? Is LASIK effective? What are the percentages that LASIK goes wrong? Those were the two issues with our LASIK client. Guess how we figured that out? Spending 30 days really understanding their customers, really understanding what bothered them before they came to the door. All the doctor knows is he did a successful LASIK event.
Right.
But what we have to do is get further out as to where is this person? What are they going to be typing on Google at 11 o'clock at night when they're wondering?
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. So the work is there. So we become just obsessed with the buyer's journey because, as we talked about that statistic, 50% of everybody comes to the website. We'll probably buy that product or service in the next 1 month to 18 months. But the question then is what's the reasonable time for them to buy it? Because our nurturing sequence, unlike the real estate industry, doesn't necessarily have to go for 12 months. With the LASIK example, that nurturing sequence was most effective at 8 weeks. And the cadence was one email. It was 3 emails in the first week. And then the other 5 were stretched out over the next 7 weeks.
Okay.
With our automobile collision repair company, that cadence was like 3 to 4 to 5 emails in the first 72 hours. If you were a personal injury attorney, that cadence was 4 emails in 48 hours. Every buyer has a different sequence of when they're going to take that buying decision. If you're in the mortgage business, we already talked about that. Real estate, we already talked about that. I mean, that's where marketing companies go wrong. We try to sit in the seat of the ideal customer in such a way. We've never maybe bought the product or service that we're marketing, but we have to sit in the seat of that customer and know all of the ways that they're thinking, what they're saying about it, what they're hearing in the marketplace, what they're seeing, so that we can bring that back into text, copy, content, emails, ads, so that those ads work like salespeople who are empowered to do their job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is good digital marketing. But if an entrepreneur skips it, you're actually going to be frustrated.
Yeah. What you bring up is so true about the demographics, speaking to the pain points. I have found for myself, my best clients, other than direct referrals, have always come from my videos.
Absolutely.
Because you're sitting there, especially if they watch the whole thing. So, okay, they just spent 10 minutes or half an hour with me virtually. And I remember where it really hit me, where I put out a really good piece of content. It was back in 2013 or 14. My friend and I came up with this marketing program called Premier Leader. And, we're gonna brand you as the go-to guy, the brand leader. So we created this video. We're going to create content for you, blah, blah, blah. Sent it out. About a week later, I get this guy on Facebook Messenger from Denmark. He's
Beautiful.
like, I saw your video. I'm like, okay. Hey, I'm from Denmark. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm in this time I live in California. He's like, no. But I'm interested. Okay. Could this program work in Denmark? I'm like, but I don't speak Danish. She goes like, no. We all speak English in Denmark. We start learning in 3rd grade. Yeah. Well, theoretically, yes, it would work in Denmark. He's like, great. So you guys can fly out? I'm like, you want me to fly out to Denmark? So I called my friend going, there's this crazy Danish guy on Facebook, right? I might not even, I can't even believe this. This is this is like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So we calculated the price. It was a huge price.
Yeah.
Plus airfare, plus this. I said, well, you'd have to give me, 12 grand. That's the first half, plus all the other stuff we need. He's like, great. Do you take credit card? This is all on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
He gives me the credit card, I run it, and I'm like, I call my friend, I go, we're going to Copenhagen. And I went to Copenhagen for a week. We did 50 videos for the guy over the week. These little, 2-3 minute snippets. Question and answer. And when I came back, I was like, that was surreal. Like, I actually created a 4-minute video. Guy from Denmark saw it, flew us out, spent 25 grand. Okay.
That's today. That's digital today. That's the power of it. And when you're an expert, when you're a thought leader, when you are, especially the type of clients that we're talking about in this conversation, not using video to what you're doing with video. And I've been doing video now since 2007. I started on YouTube 2007, back when I was in the mortgage space, owned a mortgage company. And I just did like you just said. I answered every frequently asked question that came up on a phone call and put it on a YouTube channel, so that when I was busy or I was tied up because I owned a company and I had a production business, I would just say, hey, visit my YouTube channel before our appointment. And chances are I would cut down the number of times I needed to be on the phone for an hour, hour and a half. So video is one of the most powerful, even if you're not into the video SEO game or you're not trying to run video ads, get the video content recorded. I just finished earlier this morning. That's not true. I recorded the videos very similar to what you discussed. One of our clients is in the startup incubation space, right? So they're in the venture capital space. They work with startup founders and help them get ready for funding. And this executive director is a 3-time founder, 2-time exit. He knows his stuff. Well, he's got this great program in this state, and what we need to do is try to recruit investors to be a part of his new angel programs. Beautiful. And I said, well, hey man, you've got to be on camera. Sure, everybody understands what it is on paper, but let's get you, who's a 3-time founder, 2-time exiter, you've raised capital each time. Let's get you and put your credibility out there. So we recorded 28 videos. We've used 16 or 17 of them in ads and promotions, but let's put you out there. Let's not let the text or you're the copy.
So, brand. I mean, look at Elon Musk and Sir Richard Branson. Right. They're out there. They are publicity hounds
all day.
I mean, they're in front of that camera. They're advocating the brands. They're, right. I mean,
ruffling feathers even. Hey, ruffling feathers is part of the deal too, right? Take a stance.
Yeah. Take the people you dislike the most, and they pretty much have a lot of money because
they ruffle feathers. They take a stance.
Yeah, they ruffle feathers, whether you're left, right, up, down,
right.
Nike, Pepsi, Coke. Somebody's going to put out some content that's going to go, oh, what are they doing that for? You're like, it makes money.
Absolutely. Guy Kawasaki's big name. He's early internet entrepreneur. I can't even remember where he got started. Apple. He was with Apple for the years that Steve Jobs came in and turned it around. He was with Apple back in the day. Now he's the chief evangelist for Canva, one of my favorite graphics tools for me as a non-graphic designer. Graphic designers hate it because they're so much better than it. It's my go-to. But he says if you're not I don't want to, cuss on this, but if you're not irritating someone on social media with your posts, then you're not doing it right. And it is simply, he doesn't mean go in there to try to cause problems,
No.
but he's like, look, take a stance on what it is that you do, what you believe, and you just got to be okay. You're not going to please everybody with your content. Gary Vee is somebody that you and I both are fans of. Gary Vee is 100% authentically Gary Vee, no matter what, period.
Gary Vee is from New Jersey, and he speaks like he's from New Jersey off the street.
Every day.
Every day.
He's built what? How many businesses? I know he has a marketing agency right now with over 1,000 employees. So you got to do you, and you got to find the right space for you to do you online. Some people don't want to be loud and boisterous. That's fine. Don't create somebody that you're not. That's not what we're saying. But I'm very much the same as I am on this call as I am when I'm talking to my clients one-on-one in a Zoom meeting or face-to-face, or when I'm presenting at a seminar. I'm very passionate. I'm very authentic. I'm very, I don't try to pretend I know everything. I'm the first to admit when I don't. But when I know what works, damn it, shut up and do what I said. That's I'm
the same
because
way.
It works.
You got to be a bit, of a general on the thing. Hey, Darrell, I'm going to have you again on this show. We're going to probably right after the first of the year. We'll probably take a deeper dive. Maybe we can go into like the CRM and the nurture technology.
Okay.
Or, some aspect of it. I'd like to kind of get, we've covered a lot of things, which I'm grateful for, and thank you. You've validated a lot of things that I've been believing and preaching for years. It's always great to find somebody who's come to the same conclusions,
right,
through the same challenges and pain points. But I really like how you've grown towards this, the really ambitious guy that doesn't have, the sky's the limit. I want to grow. And you're really building in this system with psychographics, demographics, really understanding how to think. And that's what I really would like to explore next time we talk.
I would be honored to come back. It's been a great conversation, Edwin. Thanks for having me today. And to all your listeners, all the best and prosperity as we head into another new year with some very interesting times ahead for us, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, guys, this has been Darrell Evans with Edwin Dearborn, myself, here on Growth Driven, trying to bring to you great content, actionable content from business experts, marketing and branding experts to help you grow. If you're driven to grow, reach out to us. Reach out to Darrell. I'm going to put a link below in the video on YouTube later on when this gets all uploaded. And again, thanks, Darrell. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
All right.